As Newsmax continues its coverage of the run-up to the 2022 midterms, a major development in the race for Pennsylvania's Senate between Republican Dr. Mehmet and Democrat John Fetterman. The lieutenant governor there in Pennsylvania now saying he will debate Oz. In a statement we'll read to you, he tells Politico, quote, "We're absolutely going to debate Dr. Oz. And that was really always our intent to do that. It was just simply only ever been about addressing some of the lingering issues of the stroke, the auditory processing, and we're going to be able to work that out." Fetterman adds the debate will be in October on a major television station in the state. For reaction now, our panelist joins us. We're pleased to have Newsweek opinion editor Josh Hammer and Democrat analyst Jonathan Harris. Gentlemen, thank you both for coming on. We appreciate that. I'll start with Jonathan, if I can, on this one here. As you well know, Dr. Oz has called for debates. He called for 5. It appears, according to at least Fetterman's camp at this time, we will only get 1. Is that enough in terms of a campaign strategy by Fetterman?
I mean, I think it'll be enough. I said before when I talked about this, it depends on who you are. I think in the media, we probably eat up debates a little bit more than the average voter. But, the more opportunities to see what the candidates feel on certain issues, the better. I just think it's going to be interesting to see whether Dr. Oz is going to be able to dig himself out of the hole he's in. He's 4 points behind Fetterman in the polls. And that comment that he made about Fetterman and his stroke, I mean, his campaign in response to being called out of touch about the naming of vegetables said that if the Fetterman had ever had a vegetable, he wouldn't have had a stroke. I mean, that is one of the most disgusting comments I have ever heard in any political campaign. And I think that's playing part of the role in why Dr. Oz is behind it. I'm sure that Fetterman is going to bring that up. And as I've said before, the right likes to portray the left as elitist. And I'm not sure what's more elitist than a doctor looking down on a working class American and blaming him for his stroke. So and using that as a political punching bag. That was pretty disgusting. And I think probably part of the reason he's lagging behind. So we'll see if he can dig himself out in this debate.
Yeah, Josh Hammer, I'll bring you up on that one. The other, as Jonathan pointed out, maybe some of the challenges that Oz will face. Fetterman will face challenges. One, again, it seemed to be the Pittsburgh Gazette that kind of catapulted this, questioning the ability of the lieutenant governor to even be able to serve in the Senate. And then he stepped up. But also some of the policies that he called for in terms of soft on crime policies. His statements on that may be brought up on the debate stage, Josh.
Yeah, so it definitely could be, it definitely should be. I'm sure it will be. Just a quick note on John Fetterman, though. I think questions about his cognitive capability are entirely fair game. I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to look at some of these clips that are going viral on Twitter of him, campaigning around the state to the extent he's even out there campaigning in diners and gas stations and the kind of retail politics. He can barely put a sentence together. I mean, this is not like a thing that people are particularly gleeful and happy to say, but this is entirely fair game. And I hope that the people of Pennsylvania get more than one debate to make their decision before they vote this November. As far as the policies that Fetterman has supported, yeah, he is a totally card-carrying member in many respects, especially when it comes to issues pertaining to crime, law and order, policing, getting our murder rates down, our homicide rates down, our theft down, our robbery down, the decarceration agenda. He is an ally of AOC, Cori Bush, and the squad on all of these so-called criminal justice reform issues. And I really hope that when they get that debate stage that Dr. Oz takes a sledgehammer to him, because he is particularly vulnerable on that. But by the way, a lot of Democrats are vulnerable on those issues. From my perspective, I would like to see more Republicans really go on the offense on the crime and law and order issue, especially as homicide rates every weekend, it seems, just continue to skyrocket across the country.
There's a poll that we can throw up, this Rasmussen poll from respondents saying this. 46% of respondents say this is a referendum on President Biden's agenda, this midterms as a whole. And then 40% saying the upcoming midterm election is more about individual candidates and issues. 14% aren't sure. They're going about doing some other stuff. But again, you have the plurality there, if you will, Jonathan Harris, talking about this being a referendum on Biden's agenda. If that indeed is true, is that going to throw off the balance of power in terms of Democrats holding it in the Senate, in the House?
Well, I mean, historically, Rasmussen's a right-leaning poll, so I think one of the most important things with any poll is to look at, who they're surveying, and then it'll tell you a lot about the questions and how they're being answered. But I mean, we know that historically, I know that Republicans are like, oh, there's going to be a red wave, but we know that historically, when there's a new president, his party loses power in the next midterm election. That's nothing. It's not breaking news. The problem for Republicans is now November is in play, and it shouldn't be. And I think that has a lot to do with the fact that their stance on abortion, just peddling Trump's lie about the 2020 election being rigged and still backing him on that, not backing holding the January 6th terrorists accountable. I think the fact that they've taken that stance on many issues has put November in play. And again, historically, it shouldn't be in play. It should be an easy win for Republicans. So we'll see how it pans out.
I'll go to Josh Hammer again on that. There's not a lot of big fans of I only have a minute left for you, of the IRA, the Inflation Reduction Act, right? In terms of $370 billion there allocated for the climate deal, has nothing to do with inflation. Just about every economist that you talk to talks about that, including Secretary Granholm mentioning that as well. Your closing thoughts on that?
Look, so I want to just make one point very clear here. If you look at the past few election cycles, going back to 2016, 2018, and 2020, really those last three cycles, the political polling industry did not exactly cover itself in glory. There were a few pollsters, Trafalgar Group, they have done a better job than most outlets as far as actually projecting what is going to happen here. But I, for one, am not fully buying what I'm seeing in the polls. I do think Republicans are still well positioned to retake the House. The Senate, I will readily concede, is probably much closer now than we thought it would be 2 months ago. I think Republicans still have at least a 50-50 shot, at least a coin flip of recapturing that chamber. We'll see what happens in Georgia, Nevada, and Arizona, but it's going to be close.
Pennsylvania, Georgia, some of those big ones there. Would they debate? Would they not debate? We talked to Herschel Walker. He says he's ready for one, so we'll see what happens down in Georgia as well. Josh Hammer, Jonathan Harris, out of time. Gentlemen, always a pleasure.
Hey guys, it's Rob Carson. September is historically the worst performing month for the stock market, so you better be ready for it. The Fed continues to aggressively raise rates, and JP Morgan is forecasting another mega rate hike September the 21st. Is that why Jamie Dimon said an economic hurricane is coming our way? Well, gold and silver have remained remarkably stable despite the Fed aggressively raising rates today. The Patriot Gold Group has a special incentive for Newsmax viewers. Huge! Now precious metals investors can enjoy the no-fee-for-life gold and silver IRA on qualifying rollovers, or enjoy free, discreet, insured shipping on all direct gold and silver purchases. Here's the number, 800-356-4470. Call 800-356-4470 today.